the Bovada At Odds podcast. My name is Seth Everett. I'm joined by the head odds maker at Bovada, Patrick Morrow, as we break down the latest odds in all the major sports. NFL week to week, as the playoffs are upon us, we'll break down the latest odds plus the futures. It's the Bovada At Odds podcast. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the Underdog Sports MLB Show. Here are your hosts, the luckiest men on the face of the earth, Chase Fedorsky and Bryce Holden.
Welcome to episode 104 of the Underdog Sports Baseball Show with Bryce Holden. My name is Chase Fedorsky.
104, Chase. You know what 104 signifies?
I do not, but you gave me a look as if there was some indication, and I was intrigued as to where you were going with this. So,
52 times 2.
double CC. Well, I guess, or just CC, you could say.
I would have gone with 2 years, but your approach works too.
Oh, I guess that is a significant event that I didn't think of. Yeah, shout out to everyone who has been around the world been with us since the beginning. 2 years worth of shows, and we promise to keep it going from there. Bryce, it hasn't been 2 years, but it has been about 2 to 3 weeks since you have been back recording in New York. How does it feel to be back on the East Coast?
Simon's a good buddy of mine. My mom's a good buddy of mine. No more. I'm done. I don't need to go see either of them for a while.
You got your visits in. That's the important part.
You gotta do this. You gotta check in with people. Simon's setting up a new spot. Mom always likes seeing her kids. But 2.5 weeks is a long fucking time.
Oh, I totally get it. I mean, I would go on vacation. I went on a work trip for 2 weeks once, and it felt like a never-ending trip.
At a certain point, I got to at a certain point on this trip, the fun moments on the trip are fun moments. The highs are high. But at a certain point when I was gone that long, it got to a point where I was just kind of counting down the days until I was going home, which is usually not a good sign on any sort of vacation.
That is true. Sometimes you got to just go with what Motley Crue said, and I'm on my way. Just set me free. Home sweet home. Good to have you back in New York, even though I'm currently in New Jersey. Got the second dose of the vaccine today. Allegedly, I'm going to be indestructible about a week from now, but I'm sure we will put that to the test. And I know a month from now, we will certainly put that to the test when we are in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina together. But we will give you more information on that as the trip gets closer. But speaking of someone who put their health to the test and remarkably came out the other side, I want to give a shout out to Yankees manager Aaron Boone. A lot of people have told me, including people I know who have had this procedure done, that getting a pacemaker is no big deal. But anything that involves your heart, in my mind, big deal. I don't know how you feel about this, but heart, it's something serious, even if it's insignificant.
Yeah, there's certain medical things that are auto red flags. I mean, it's like anything with the brain, anything with the lungs, anything with the heart. I'd say if it directly impacts your living and breathing, you should probably take that one seriously. So get well soon, Mr. Boone.
Well, he's already back. That's what this isn't even the get well soon. He got the pacemaker last.
Yeah, but I still want him to get well soon. He can get weller. There was an old funeral home up by me in Connecticut, and it was Weller Funeral Services, and their tagline was, "If you don't get better, get Weller."
Just to put fans at ease, this was not an out of nowhere pacemaker that he got put in. Boone, his entire life, has suffered from a pre-existing heart condition. He got open heart surgery.
Isn't that why he got traded? And isn't that why they were okay? The Yankees needed to trade for A-Rod, or did he just tear something playing basketball?
Nah, he tore his ACL playing basketball. Got the pacemaker for a low heart rate, but he's going to be fine. But the fact that, again, he got a pacemaker Wednesday and was managing the Yankees Saturday, both the team and I think that it was very impressive. Booney, we wish that you will get weller, as Bryce said. Not 100% sure if that's a word, but that's okay. It sounds good.
It's not. That's the joke. It's if you don't get better, get weller. Because if you don't get better, you're probably going to die and need a coffin.
I like the actor Peter Weller. You ever see RoboCop? Good movie.
It's on the to watch list.
Sneakily, one of the most violent movie scenes of all time, also. And this will be my last Peter Weller rant for a while. I'll never forget in freshman year of high school honors history class, we were watching a documentary on some Greco-Roman art. I don't remember. I was probably very phased out. But Peter Weller was one of the experts, and it turns out that RoboCop went on to get his master's in Roman art history from Syracuse and is now Dr. Weller on the subject. So there's a pretty fun fact for you. Peter Weller, when he's not killing people as RoboCop, is looking at ancient art, which is pretty cool. But tying this all back to the baseball world, before we get into some news around the league, we will start with standings and stats. So for spring training right now in the Cactus.
Peter Weller, I got one last thing to say on Peter Weller. I just Googled him. He looks an awful lot like Vision.
Yes, he looks a lot like he's an older version of Paul Bettany, I would say.
So for those of you who also didn't know who Peter Weller was, think Vision, but a little older.
It makes sense because RoboCop and Vision are both robots too.
Yeah.
Standings in the Cactus League. Last place, you got the Reds 1-5, and the Royals in first place at 6-2. And the more I look at what they did this offseason, the more that I think that even playing in a good Central, the Royals could.
They're not in a good Central. The Central is not good.
Well, the White Sox are going to be good again. The Twins will be a playoff team. The Indians will have enough pitching to be above 500.
Will they? I don't think they're offense. I don't think their offense is. I think there's a clear two good teams. I mean, Detroit's awful. Kansas City, their offseason was good, but they don't have any pitchers.
I think they could be a sneaky 500 team.
Yeah, I would put them in the – what does Bovada have their over-under at? Probably the 70s.
No idea. I have that on my list of things for us to do in the next few weeks is some awards picks, some playoffs picks, and the over-under wins totals. But I'm going to peg it in my mind probably at like 74.5, and I'm going to take the over.
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot easier to take these overs.
Grapefruit League in Florida, the Astros and Orioles are last at 2-5. Marlins in first, 4-1. So I will ask you, of the two teams who, as of today, are in first place in their respective spring trading leagues, who's going to finish with a better record, the Royals or last year's playoff surprise, the Miami Marlins?
I would say Royals, largely because of that division. The Royals will get those games against Cleveland without Bieber. They'll get the Detroit games. And that NL East is tough. The Marlins have 40% of their schedule against Mets, Phillies, Braves, Nats.
Yeah, no days off in the NL East. I agree with you there. But
I just think as a whole, the NL is better than the AL. I think the AL West is pretty bad.
I mean, the only NL teams that I think are going to be truly bad are the Pirates in the Central and the Rockies in the West. Everyone else, I think, will be at least decent.
I think that come August, you'll see a lot of NL teams that, maybe they have an outside shot. It's like this team might not be a seller. But the AL, it's the bottom half of the AL West is bad. Astros got worse. The AL East, the Blue Jays are still terrible. Tampa took a step back. Or did I say the Blue Jays are still? I meant the Orioles are still terrible if I misspoke.
And I think to speak to your point too, with the National League being with more buyers, I think there's even more clarity on that now that it seems all but official that the universal DH and expanded postseason will officially not be happening in any shape or form in 2021. They're not even going to go back to the negotiating table on that. So I think given that, National League teams can now officially construct their roster knowing they don't need that extra spot for a bat. But it will be interesting to see just because, again, if 13 out of 15 teams we think will be at least decent and they're only competing for what is now 2 wild card spots as opposed to what was 5 additional playoff spots last year. It'll be interesting to see how it shapes out in the National League. But, yeah, I'm with you. I would go with the Royals over Marlins to make a long answer for a short question. Moving along to the league leaders in spring training. On the offensive side, home runs, Joey Gallo back mashing the ball with 4 home runs. In terms of RBIs, he is tied with 8 with Matt Olson and Gregory Polanco. My question for you with Joey Gallo is, given the Rangers are going to be pretty bad for the foreseeable future, in my opinion, even though they're in that new stadium, at what point do they have to seriously consider moving Joey Gallo? Or do you think he's a guy, even though he's very much a three outcomes guy, he's also a sneaky Gold Glove winner, that he's the guy that they decide to build around long term?
He's not a bad choice to build around because, like you said, sneaky Gold Glove and hits bombs.
Bombs, absolute bombs.
Like when he hits them far. But you need more than Joey Gallo. He's a good piece. I think they can get a lot back for him come that trade deadline, especially. I guess I keep forgetting he's a Gold Glove winner because he just doesn't profile like a Gold Glove winner.
Not in the slightest. It's. I even have to do a double take when I say that, just because whether it's fair or not, I think of Joey Gallo as this generation's Adam Dunn.
Yeah. So I would say there's. I would have said if there was a universal DH, it would make a ton of sense for almost every National League club. I guess he still might.
Joey Gallo, interesting profile. Average leader right now for spring training is Jason Vossler of the Giants at 500. OPS leader at 1.365. Kyle Schwarber making a great impression in Washington. And new teammate Josh Bell, also new in DC. He's second, 1.318. Moving to the pitching side of things, ERA, only 3 pitchers have not given up a run thus far. Pablo Lopez of the Marlins, Thomas Parsons of the Cardinals, and Jordan Yamamoto of the New York Mets. The strikeouts leaders with 8 apiece, Lucas Lucha of the Yankees, which is amazing because I don't even know who that guy is. Fuck you, Yes Network, for not publicly airing every spring training game. Robbie Ray and Huascar Ynoa of the Braves tied with 8 strikeouts. Wins we will go with at 2 apiece, Anthony Kay, the Blue Jays, and Jordan Montgomery. And the last stat we will say is whip. Adam Wainwright, keeping the resurgence going, 0.2 whip thus far in spring training. Any thoughts on any of those leaguers on the pitching side of things?
I guess it's just if Wainwright can actually pitch like an ace for that St. Louis team, they have a real shot to win the NL.
I agree. You have Flaherty, Wainwright, and that lineup now with Arenado. They could definitely do some damage.
Because I think they're the pretty. I'd imagine Bovada probably has them at minus odds to win the Central at this point.
I think it's right around there.
You're probably maybe plus 120, and the Brewers are plus 150.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It is a great transition that you mentioned the Cardinals winning the Central because the team you highlighted last week of having a top 10 offseason were the Milwaukee Brewers. The highlight of the offseason was probably adding Colton Wong, who is a solid bat, but arguably the best defensive second baseman in baseball. And to go with Wong, they have now added arguably the best defensive center fielder in baseball. Jackie Bradley Jr. signed with the Brewers, 2-year, $24 million contract. His 2021 salary is $13 million, and he will earn $11 million in 2022 if he declines to opt out. Again, Colton Wong, Jackie Bradley Jr., not the sexiest names, but for a team that already has a superstar in Christian Yelich, you got Hader and Devin Williams, the best 1-2 punch of any bullpen in baseball. And in the rotation, you got Brandon Woodruff and Corbin Burns. They just needed some solid pieces, and that's what they've had now. Avisail Garcia probably moving to the bench with this move. It will most likely move Lorenzo Cain to left field or even Jackie Bradley Jr. So again, between Cain, Yelich, and JBJ, you now have 3 Gold Glovers in the outfield for the Brewers. Bradley's only 31 years old. Didn't hit a ton last year, but over the past 6 seasons, 247, 331, 438, W102 WRC plus. But last year, that actually spiked to 283, 364, 450. Again, with Jackie Bradley Jr., you're not paying him for the bat. You're paying him because the bat isn't going to hurt you, and the glove is that good that he's a high WAR player every year. Payroll-wise, the Brewers are now only at $105 million. And either way, that'll be well short of 2019's franchise record, $122.5 million opening day mark. I just think, again, this is a move. You move Garcia to the bench, and now that just adds more depth to this team. If you had asked me a week ago, I would have said the Cardinals were the favorites in the Central, but given how deep this Brewers team is now, I really like them to make some damage in the Central.
Well, I just gave you my odds to win the division. Cardinals plus 120, Brewers plus 150.
I would take the Brewers plus 150.
I don't think it'll be the Pirates or the Reds, and I don't think it'll be the Cubs. So maybe there's a way to game the book and bet on both of them and always win. There probably is, as long as they're both plus odds.
Oh, there definitely is. I mean, what are your thoughts in general on Bradley's addition to this team? I mean, looking top to bottom, there's not a ton of holes on this team at this point.
They also probably as much as I don't like Hader, they probably have 2 of the top 5 relievers in the game.
Easy.
So there's that. Oh my God, I'm totally blanking on this dude's name. He has a silly name. Who has that silly name that I like? Corbin Burns.
Yeah, I mean, Burns and Woodruff, those are 2 of the top 15, 20 guys going.
Burns and Woodruff, they should definitely do some sort of Watergate. What is it? Woodward and Bernstein.
I like where your head's at.
I feel like there's something there. Brewers marketing people, listen closely because this is
you don't want to miss out on this.
Yeah, the Watergate pen. That's yeah. Oh my God! If we get that thing going, I will contact the Brewers right after we record this. Because Woodruff, wait, who the hell am I talking? That's their rotation. Burns and Woodruff are kind of like Woodward and Bernstein. So there's something there.
Okay.
What it is?
Is it enough that the Brewers could catapult the Cardinals, in your opinion?
I mean, if you'd asked me 50 years ago, I wouldn't have thought it was enough to tackle Richard Nixon. And I think Richard Nixon was way more intimidating than the 2021 iteration of the St. Louis Cardinals.
Even with Arenado, you still feel that way?
I mean, it's tricky Nick.
I mean, did you see the video of Yachty telling a base runner in spring training, "I dare you to steal," and then he threw his ass out immediately? That's intimidation at its finest.
I mean, have you seen Richard Nixon trying? I mean, look, Nixon was gettable. Frost got him pretty good.
Say no more about Nixon. We could go down a big rabbit
hole. Do the Brewers have a guy named Frost on their team or anything cold? I got to look up this lineup.
Nothing. I'm trying to think. Nothing near Frost.
Anything cold themed?
Not that I can think of.
A cold themed player?
But they do have Brent Suter, who does some of my favorite impressions of all in baseball. And that's got to count for something in my mind.
Yeah, Brent Suter, I guess he could. Manny Pena? Is Manny Pena a good Frost?
Pena coladas?
That's what I was thinking.
I mean, should we just become the Brewers marketing team at this point? It sounds like we already have at least 4 giveaways.
I mean, that Woodward and Bernstein thing, that is some elite content right there.
There you go.
Brewers to win the World Series now because I'm so into this.
You look that up in the meantime. Jackie Bradley Jr. and this next pitcher were the last 2 big free agents who hadn't really found homes. And moving to Houston, Framber Valdez, who was without a doubt, in my opinion, the best pitcher for the Houston Astros last year, really broke out. 70 2/3 innings, 3.57 ERA over 11 appearances. He completed at least 7 innings on 6 occasions and completed 6 frames and 9 of 11. Was strong in the playoffs. His FIP was 2.85, so there was nothing fluky there. And his season looks like it might be over before it even started. He took a ground ball for Francisco Lindor off the hand last week, pitched another inning, but it sounds like he fractured his left ring finger, which is his pitching hand. And the initial recommendation is surgery, where the recovery time could be sizable enough that he might miss the entire season. Which I guess my first question is, I've never fractured a finger before, but that's kind of mind-blowing to me that an injury like that could take you out for 6 months.
I mean, it's a bone. He broke his bones. Can't be breaking bones and pitching.
But I feel like even when you break your arm, it's like 2 months, you're out of a cast and you're like a person again. I guess, yes, you rely on that ring finger so much for different pitches, I'm sure, but 6 months seems wild to me.
Yeah, 6 months seems like a long time. But again, man, it's a broken finger on your. It's important. It's like super important to throwing baseballs, your fingers.
So with Framber out and Justin Verlander out for the year due to Tommy John surgery, the Astros rotation was down to Zach Greinke, Jose Urquidy, Lance McCullers Jr., Christian Javier. So they went to the free agent market and they signed Jake Odorizzi to a 2-year deal with an option for the 2023 season. Terms haven't been released yet, but figure it's somewhere in the ballpark of 3 for $9. That's what Odorizzi was asking for throughout. Last year, he did only pitch 13 2/3 frames with the Twins, had a series of minor injuries, but throughout his tenure in Minnesota, 4.01 ERA, 323 and a third innings from 2018 to 2019. Actually made an all-star team as a member of the Twins. 2019 accepted a qualifying offer, so bet on himself for free agency. Again, it didn't quite pan out. So before looking at the draft picks and the luxury tax ramifications of this deal, right now, how much better or worse do you think the Astros rotation is with Jake Odorizzi in there for Framber Valdez?
I mean, that's not a terrible downgrade, or it might not even be a downgrade, but it's just their rotation wasn't good to begin with. There was an uphill climb for the team without Verlander. I mean, I like Greinke, but at a certain point, I wonder if Greinke's going to hit a wall.
Even last year, he had a 4.03 ERA, which again, 60 games, whatever. But that's been the highest Greinke's ERA has been in quite some time.
So I would like this Odorizzi signing a lot more if they had Framber to go with him. But as a quick fix, probably as good as they're going to get as a quick fix option.
Yeah, it's interesting too because now you replace Framber was really going to be the only lefty in that rotation. You replace him with Odorizzi, who's a righty. So again, that doesn't usually have a huge impact.
This is probably, we could save this for a slow week. How does that really matter? I think that's overblown. The lefty righty, everything.
I think it matters on some level.
I mean, we'll probably have to see this. This is why I said save it for a later week, because we did not have enough ammo to go about this. It's just when I see things, I'm just, these guys are good, these guys are bad. Would you rather take a lesser qualified right-handed starter, even if it means you had would you rather take
you want the best pitcher.
You want the best pitcher. I think that's what it is. We're on the same page there.
I agree with you there. I think it matters for me, honestly, offensively more. I think that offensive balance matters a lot more than rotation balance in my mind.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I mean, look, in all things considered, if you're Odorizzi, you landed on your feet. You are now on a team in the Astros that will still be a playoff contender, in my opinion. Long term, this will be interesting because, you are in a situation that Greinke's contract's coming up for Verlander, coming off Tommy John surgery. Maybe you offer him the qualifying offer. But at least now with Odorizzi in tail, you still have a guy long term. Where it gets interesting now, though, is if they go over the luxury tax this year, which they were right at $200.7 million before the cost of Odorizzi's deal. Again, we don't know what this looks like, but because of their draft pick losses, if they go over the luxury tax and McCullers, Correa, and Verlander receive qualifying offers, they could either A, hope those guys walk, or B, just reload the farm system and hope all those guys sign with extra teams. It's just something to consider there. The luxury tax is also going to go way up in terms of the bill that they have as two-time offenders. But all in all, I think, a pretty solid pivot for the Astros, given, they lost their co-ace and pretty quickly signed a guy that will, if nothing else, be able to eat innings for them at a high level.
I think this Astros team is still in win now mode. They still see this core with Altuve and Correa as a championship level team, but they're getting tough luck with injury. The Verlander thing is costly. I mean, this team was one game away from making the World Series again last year. I mean, don't forget about that part.
No, I mean, look, I honestly thought when that series went to 7, I think we might have watched it together. I was like, the Astros are going to win this.
I was somewhere, Atlanta maybe.
I really did think the Astros were going to win it. But yeah, I'm totally with you. The team is still in win now mode. And we'll see. I think them and the Cubs are in a very similar point where I like the Astros lineup better than the Cubs, but this is the last year that core that they rode to the playoffs many years in a row. This is the last ride for both teams.
I think the Cubs rotation is I think the Cubs are just kind of have thrown in the white flag on this one.
They're just fortunate to be playing in the NL Central, where you just hope a lineup led by Baez, Bryant, Rizzo, and Wilson Contreras, and even Jock Peterson. I'll throw his name in there. you just hope that lineup is going to do enough.
Yeah, but getting Arrieta back in lieu of Darvish and Lester is a monumental downgrade because Arrieta, when he got to Philadelphia, just forgot how to pitch. Maybe he gets that second life back in Chicago, but barring that, it'll be a lot of early nights at sluggers for the Cubbies.
Hitting the cage just like my friend Bryce did last week. Still jealous about that.
Twice. Back Friday.
We had, and I feel like this has flown under the radar given who one of the players were, but we had our first major COVID-19 protocol violation of spring training. And the Indians PR team has been an absolute mess the past week and a half, specifically with Terry Francona. And this only adds to that. Jose Ramirez and Franmil Reyes have been isolated from their teammates at spring training after breaking COVID-19 protocols. Terry Francona said Sunday that the two players have been sent to their homes in Arizona, and the Indians await word from the league as to when they can rejoin the team. Reyes drove to the Indians exhibition game on Friday in Mesa and went to get a haircut following the win. Ramirez and him then went out to dinner and were indoors, which violates the COVID-19 guidelines. Francona said he spoke to both players who understand that they could have put others in jeopardy. They said, we're not here to put guys in the penalty box. We try to talk to our guys almost every day. Hey, this is going to happen. If it doesn't matter if you agree with it or not. These are the protocols that are in place, and you have to live by it. Again, the PR nightmare for Francona, Chris Antonetti, Mike Chernoff stems from their steadfast denial that they had never heard anything regarding Mickey Callaway, which we talked about last week. But this team also is really the only team that has dealt with COVID-19 protocol violations in the past year. That was when Clevenger and Plesac, they broke protocols, probably was what led to Clevenger getting traded to the Padres. This is just another, a really bad look for the Indians. And I don't want to say the inmates are running the asylum with Terry Francona, but you're starting to get that picture a little bit. But also for Jose.
Chase, it's going back to what we've been just banging the drum on for months now. Old white men do not have any pulse of what people are like today.
I just think it's an even worse look for Jose Ramirez. I mean, you traded Lindor. This guy is now the unquestioned face of your franchise. Finished second in the MVP.
It's Bieber.
That's true. Bieber and Jose Ramirez, I would say 1A, 1B. Position player-wise, though, Jose unquestionably. This is the guy who finished second in the AL MVP vote last year. And
he has a sneaky amount of top 5 MVP finishes.
I think 3 at this point.
I think 3, but I'll check on.
And it's just for a guy like that to not grasp the situation. It's a tough look for the team. So I guess my main question for you is, do you think this is going to be the first of many, or these are just two boneheads who, for whatever reason, struggle following the rules?
I think it's a lot easier to break the rule during spring training when the game's in the afternoon. I think when the season starts and these players have to get in a routine of hotel game back, then you won't see it as much. I would not be too surprised to see more come out in the next month.
Yeah, it's I mean, look, it's easy for us to criticize them too. You know, we're not the ones who are super stuck in that bubble, but at the end of the day, we're also not paid millions of dollars to play fucking baseball. And when that's the case, follow the rules. You're literally getting paid millions of dollars to play the child's game.
Jose Ramirez has 3 top 3 MVP finishes. He finished third in 17, third in 18, and second last year. So 3 of the last 4 years, he's been a top 3 guy.
Do you think that the MLB will make an example of Ramirez and Reyes?
I mean, they should, but I don't even know what they can do at this point. They have no credibility with the players. I mean, I guess like what really gets through to players is suspensions. Fines are nominal since they make millions of dollars. So it really comes down to suspending for regular season games. And I don't think Manfred has the legs to issue a suspension at this point.
I'm with you there. It's the sad truth. Another piece of news that was announced during spring training that will affect the long-term outlook of a lot of players for the 2021 season is the AAA season being moved. The AAA season will be delayed at least a month. The league source confirmed to ESPN Tuesday. AAA, the highest level of minor league baseball, was scheduled to begin April 6th, and games will be pushed back to around the same time as AA and Class A are expected to start the first week of May. MLB's opening day is not affected by the move and remains on pace for 15 games, most at stadiums with no fans, on April 1st. Some executives told ESPN they think that the alternate sites that are being produced with this, same as last year, could last longer into the season. Reason being that they serve as training facilities for players who are likeliest to be called up to the major leagues and also close to the home stadiums. Furthermore, AAA teams could travel via commercial airline where major league teams can go from hotel stadium to private flights on getaway days. This is really interesting to me that they are pushing the AAA start. Again, with these alternate sites now, it'll be a mix of major league ready players and prospects whom they didn't want to lose a year of development. That was last year. Now it'll probably be a mix of some lower level minor league players will report to spring training towards the end of March after major league teams have vacated. So again, this doesn't affect the younger guys, but for some of the guys like a Jared Kelenic, for instance, or a Wander Franco, guys who are knocking on the door. I mean, how much do you think this is stunting their development, given it's another month that they're not playing in real games and it's just going to be alternate site, type inter-squad scrimmages? And additionally, do you think that the MLB, from the owner standpoint, that they are on board for this, given that if the season doesn't start until May, it automatically manipulates service time on behalf of the teams? Did that make sense, what I was trying to say? I kind of was ranting towards the end.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. We heard it from the Mariners guy, who I forgot his name and probably doesn't deserve his name mentioned. But MLB teams love to manipulate the service time. So this is a big win for them. This is a big win.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice because they do it in an organic way where they can hide behind the cover of, oh, we're doing this for COVID protection, but the alternate site so that we have guys close to the home stadiums, blah, blah, blah. But it's just interesting to me that the guys who are most likely to be called up, even that first month of the season, aren't going to be playing games until a month later. So we'll see what happens there. Another change that is being made from the 2021 season. Last year, in light of the Astros trash can banging scandal, there was no in-dugout video replays allowed. And they're bringing that back this year. You will be allowed to watch back video, but the catcher's signs will be blocked out on the video. Not 100% sure how they're going to be doing that in live time. So interesting to see how that plays out. But last year, the MLB batting average was 245 during the shortest regular season term since 1878, which was the lowest since the league average was 237 in 1968 and down from 252 in 2019. Average number of home runs per game declined as well, and the difference between strikeouts and hits increased despite the short season. Some guys like JD Martinez, they absolutely swear by the video. How much do you expect offense to go back up now that players can watch at bats back in live time in the dugout?
I don't know why baseball is allowing this. I don't think it means much. I think it's fine, but it's opening themselves up to another cheating scandal.
I also wonder, I mean, it's not going to be that easy. At least I would think. And again, I'm so far from a video and tech expert, but it can't be that easy to be blocking out the catcher's signs in live time.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. I thought the whole thing was tough. I thought the trash cans was pretty tough.
And this just takes it, this would be at least way harder in my mind than doing the trash cans. But what do I know? It'll be interesting to see how this affects offensive numbers, but I know a lot of players are going to be happy that there will be video in the dugouts. And starting this year, thus far, there are 2 days that are designated in the Major League Baseball calendar for a given player. And both, it's fairly obvious as to why. Jackie Robinson Day, Roberto Clemente Day. If you need an explanation as to why both of those guys, get their own day during the baseball season, go read a baseball book. That's the only advice I could give. Starting June 2nd, every year, it will now be Lou Gehrig Day. The league announced this Thursday, and it will be to raise awareness and funds to fight ALS, the awful disease that ended Gehrig's career, life, and informally bears his name. On Lou Gehrig Day, all players, managers, and coaches will wear a special uniform patch with 4 ALS, Gehrig's number that is retired with the Yankees, and wristbands available to be worn in game. Additional ceremonies and details for each home park will be announced at a later date. Gehrig, still arguably the greatest first baseman of all time, passed away from ALS on his 36th birthday, June 19th, 1939. For a while, he was the Iron Horse before Cal Ripken passed his streak. And to me, I don't want to say this was long overdue. There's been a Lou Gehrig Day committee that's been fighting this for a while, or fighting for this for a while. But I think this is long overdue, and I think it's a good addition to the MLB calendar. Any thoughts on Lou Gehrig Day on your end?
Yeah, Lou Gehrig disease is it's a really terrible disease. Not It sucks. ALS. Uh, the Phillies, I'll give a shout out to the Phillies. The Phillies have been running this event for, I want to say, almost 30 years now, maybe more. The Phillies Fest. So if you're lucky, it's like a $25 ticket. You're guaranteed 2-player autograph lines for that 25. You don't know which players until you show up. And then, all the players are great. It's in the home ballpark. Everything's open. There's fun stuff, fun giveaways. So if you're looking into supporting ALS and you're close enough to Philadelphia, highly suggest looking into Phillies Fest and making the donation to a good cause.
You can also get a veggie hot dog if you're like my friend Bryce here.
They have the veggie dogs there. They also have, I forgot which cheesesteak provide. I think they have Tony Luke's at the stadium, which might be the best in-stadium meal that isn't like a super specialty item that you can have.
And if nothing else, you can get a good stomach ache and support a good cause. I want to ask you, I mean, we've talked a lot about over the past year and change, Trevor Bauer's antics, his presence. The conclusion we've come to is we like Bauer, but he's kind of a punk bitch at a certain point. So I want to ask you if this was gamesmanship or him being a punk bitch. He had his first start as a Dodger against the Padres in spring training this week, and he tossed 3 scoreless innings in the Dodgers 2-1 loss to the Padres, threw 37 strikes out of 52 pitches, struck out 3. But Bauer said that he pitched the first inning with one eye closed, saying, I figured if they can't score on me with one eye open, it's going to be difficult to score off me with 2 eyes open, just having a little bit of fun. And he later said, I like making myself uncomfortable and throwing different stuff my way and trying to find a solution for it. I think that's how you improve, find a way to make yourself uncomfortable, get comfortable with it, and do it again. And there is a method to his madness. He said he trains with one eye closed during the offseason to improve his command on his pitches, since closing one eye takes away some depth perception, making it even more important to zone in on a specific location. He also does this during bullpen sessions as well. Even if you're going to do this, I think this is kind of funny, but you're also showing up players, especially ones who are in your division, which I just think at the end of the day is never the move.
I mean, Trevor Bauer, is this a point about what he did or Trevor Bauer holistically?
Go with it as you please.
Because I think the thing with Trevor Bauer is he's a good pitcher, but he's trying to create this persona to give off the illusion that he's a great pitcher. And you know what? If he shows up, wins another Cy Young, and this year with the Dodgers, he will be considered a great pitcher. But up until this point, I think he's good. He's definitely good. I don't know if he's great. So he does this shit to just kind of get a rise, and I don't think he's big enough. I don't think the casual baseball fan knows Trevor Bauer for him to be on this one-man campaign to do whatever the hell it is he's doing.
Or if they do know him, they know him strictly from his social media presence, I would say, and not they know Trevor Bauer the person, not Trevor Bauer the pitcher.
Yeah. So I think Trevor Bauer needs to do something better. And I know he won the Cy Young last year. So that's solid ammo for people thinking I'm wrong. But I just don't think now he's in LA. Now he's on the Dodgers. He'll probably be getting more national spotlight. But until then, it's like maybe take a step back, Trevor Bauer.
Especially given you may be the third best pitcher on your own team now.
In my eyes, he's number 3.
In my eyes and in fantasy drafts, he's number 3 for me as well. And a guy who one year I did take first in my fantasy draft, one of our favorites, Albert Pujols. Let's talk Pujols.
Machine.
Let's talk the machine for a second. David Samson, who was the Marlins president from 2002 to 2017, he went on the Dan Le Batard show last week and was reflecting on the 2012 offseason when Pujols was a free agent and the Marlins were one of the teams trying to sign him, and we're calling the 10-year, $240 million contract that Pujols ended up signing and offers the Marlins sent him. Samson let it slip that the baseball player isn't the age he claims to be, saying, we all knew when we did the calculations in this deal that we didn't care about 2019, 20, or 21. It was so far in the future that didn't matter. We knew he'd be unproductive. We knew that he was not the age that he said he was. We had all the information. Le Batard responded, did you just report flatly that Pujols is older than he always claimed to be? And Samson responded, there is not one person in baseball, not one executive who believes Albert Pujols is the age that he says he is. The amount of fraud that was going on in the Dominican back in the day, the changing of names, the changing of birthdays, it was below your mind. This isn't the first time Pujols' age has come into question. He's listed at 41 years old. Sampson notes there is a history with players from the Dominican Republic not being the age they claim. And as for Pujols, Sampson didn't give the age he thought the baseball star truly was, but there was some history using Pujols' own words. In the 2018 interview with Yahoo Sports, Pujols may have revealed that he is actually 44 years old, saying, I actually hit it off Octavio Dotel. I think I told you that I was about 12, 13, almost 13 years old, describing his first ever home run. And we go back, 28 years later, here I am. That would mean he was 41 at the age of the interview. 3 years later, he's now 44. What do you make of this? We love Pujols. There's a part of me that almost wants this to be true because it would help explain why his body broke down so quickly. Is this a non-story in your eyes, or it is what it is?
A non-story and it is what it is. Those are interchangeable terms. So I guess you're leading the witness there. But
should this be a big deal at all? I guess is the question then.
Should it be a big deal at all? No. I mean, let's say Pujols is 2 years older than he said he was. Okay.
I still lean on the side of I would almost prefer it because I think it would explain how he produced right away. It's because if he was really 23, 24 when he came up, that's like peak physicalness. And then B, I think not that there's a ton, but any steroid accusations with Pujols go by the wayside then, because then it becomes, we didn't break down because he was on the juice. It was, he broke down because midway through the contract, he was 40 fucking years old.
Yeah, I mean, his career trajectory, it makes a lot more sense if you start him at 23 instead of 21. But even so, his first 10 years, you'd put those 10 years against, I would put those 10 years up against any 10 years that anyone's ever had. Doesn't matter what age. So, whatever. I'm also going to defend the machine forever. But he probably should not have been lying about his age.
No, not good. General rule of thumb, not good. I got a few fun things to wrap up. We're going to do a draft. I got some trivia. But first, I want to give out to a shout out to a fellow member of the tribe, Sean Green. Sean Green, very strong career. But I didn't realize that Sean Green may have had perhaps the greatest offensive game in the history of baseball. May 23rd, 2002, he tied the MLB record with 4 home runs. He was 6 for 6, 7 RBIs, set the record with 19 total bases.
You know what, Chase? I'm gonna throw out an early prediction for the season.
Sure.
I think this is the year someone hits 5 homers in a game.
Could be.
I feel like that is achievable, but not likely.
Certainly.
I think it's definitely possible.
I think this year too, with pitchers, readjusting, I think it could definitely happen the first month or two, especially when starters aren't being stretched out as much.
Also, here's the crazy part of the prediction. I think once it happens once, it'll happen twice pretty soon after.
You think lightning strikes twice. Interesting take. But Sean Green, only player in MLB history to have a 6 for 6 day with 4 home runs. Given all that information, and I'm sure we would have to do a deeper dive on this, at least on the surface, is this the single greatest offensive performance in baseball history?
I mean, until my guy hits 5.
Yeah. Would he have to go? What if he goes 5 for 6 with 5 home runs, but one of his at-bats he doesn't get a hit? 5 home runs trumps getting on base one last time?
Because 5 home runs are in the record book forever. And I think it'll be Joey Gallo. Tie it all back.
Giving a lot of love to Joey Gallo. Good for him. I want to give
boost his trade value.
I want to give 2 shout outs. The first of which is to Maya Brady, niece of the greatest quarterback of all time, Tom, who what I didn't know until Tom tweeted it out saying she was the best athlete in the Brady family by far, is that she is one of the star players on the number 2 ranked UCLA women's softball team. In 2020, she was named the Softball America Freshman Player of the Year, 7 home runs, 28 ribbies, led the Bruins with both. She finished 4th amongst all Pac-12 players in RBIs and 5th in homers, hit 356, slugged 669. This year, she's hitting 500. And to me, just the fact that UCLA now has some ties to Tom Brady, that makes me pretty goddamn happy.
Chase, you love giving love to Jewish baseball players. You missed a golden opportunity here. I'll let you.
Oh, well, she's also the niece of Kevin Youkilis, yes.
There you go.
But the last name is Brady. It's not Youkilis.
That probably As a fellow Tinder subscriber, the last name Brady carries more weight than the last name Yugos.
I definitely cannot argue with that. I want to give you a shout out. I think this is another year that you're going with Giancarlo as your MVP pick.
I don't know. If Joey Gallo hits 5 homers in one game, that'll definitely set him on a good trajectory.
So I'm going to pretend that you've already picked Stanton, and you could change your answer in a few weeks when we actually do this. But Stanton hit 2 monster doubles in the Yankee spring training game.
That's why I always want to pick it, because I just think if he puts it together, there's so much power there, and he's in New York.
So he's had the hardest hit ball every season since 2015. And the softest hit of all of those was off the bat at 120.1 miles per hour in 2017, that MVP year, 59 homers. James Smythe, thank you for that tidbit. That was just pretty amazing to me.
There's a reason I pick him to win MVP every year.
So far, he's off to a good start in the spring. If he plays 145 games, I think it could really happen. Interesting piece of trivia. There have been 11 total AL Cy Young Award winners, Cy Young Awards won by pitchers that are now in the Hall of Fame. From 91 to 2002, all 12 NL Cy Young Awards were won by pitchers that are currently in the Hall of Fame. I got all of the NL ones pretty quickly. I want to see if you can get that first, and then we'll move on to the AL.
So what am I offering? What's the question here?
91 to 2002, the Cy Young was won in the National League by a Hall of Fame pitcher every year. Who are those?
Wasn't it Smoltz, Maddox, Glavine, Randy Johnson?
And?
I'm forgetting what.
I believe it was 97.
Pedro with the Expos.
Pedro with the Expos. I wasn't sure if it was the Expos or the Dodgers at first. The AL one is objectively difficult, so I'm just going to read that out loud.
No. What is it? What year? Or wait, what am I asking? Which one?
11 AL Cy Young Awards have been won by pitchers in the Hall of Fame.
Forever? And in the entirety?
Period.
Well, Randy Johnson has at least one with the Mariners.
Randy had one.
It's like, boy, I feel like these are all going to go way back, and I'm not going to be able to do the ones from way back. Roy Halladay.
Roy Halladay. Yep, that's 2.
This is not a softball trivia question, Chase.
Nope.
Eckersley?
Eckersley is 3.
All right. Well, 3 isn't great. Are there Yankee guys that won this? I always forget which Yankees are in the Hall of Fame.
There is a Yankee, but he didn't win it as a Yankee, so not super helpful.
So but good context. Good context. Try to get at least one more. Give me some eras here. Give me some ranges.
There's one guy who you already named who's 2 of the 11.
There's one guy who I already named.
Who was
Pedro.
2 Pedro. Then you got all the ones from 92 to 03. You had Raleigh Fingers in 81, 3 Jim Palmers, a Gaylord Perry, and the Yankee who didn't win it in pinstripes, Jim Catfish Hunter.
Yep, that checks out.
So now we're going to do a draft to wrap up the show. I know everyone loves our drafts, and credit to John Boy Media. They did this draft. John Boy, Just Jake, and Trevor Plouffe. The draft is going to be you pick an entire team's infield, outfield, rotation, bullpen, and manager. All 30 teams are on the board, and once a team gets drafted, they are out of the pool. So as always, I will leave it up to you. Would you like the first pick or the second and the third pick?
I'm going to get the second, third pick because maybe I did this wrong, but I have notes down.
All right. I'm going to go then with the first pick, and that is a notification reminding me that I have an email to send in a few minutes. I'm going to go for the first pick. I'm going to go with the starting rotation, and I'm going to go with the team with star power and depth. I'm going to go with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Okay. That's not a bad pick.
I appreciate you telling me.
That does mean I have to adjust my board. So I'm going to take an outfield. I'm going to take the Atlanta Braves outfield. I think getting Ozuna and Acuna, that's plenty. That's a good way to start my team.
And you have the
Well, then I'm going to take the Brewers bullpen because they have two of the top five. Oh, I should have taken the Yankees. No, I'm going to take the Brewers. Go top heavy.
All right. I'm next going to go I almost played myself with the Dodgers rotation because the Dodgers outfield is probably the best of any on the board because you get two of the top 7-8 players in baseball. So I'm going to go the infield route next. And looking at my board, I am going to go with the infield for I want to go with the Padres because I get Machado and Tatis. And you already took the Braves. I could go with the Mets. But you know what? I am going to go with the infield where I get Machado and Tatis and go with the Padres.
Yeah, that's definitely not the wrong call.
No need to overthink this.
So now I need an infield and a rotation.
And a manager.
And a manager. I do. If I take Madden, then I don't get Pujols. So I have to put a pin in that one. I think I'm going to have to take the Mets rotation.
I think not only is that a good pick because you get the Mets rotation, but you also just sank my outfield pick. So good on you there.
You should not have taken. I did you a favor. If you were considering the Mets outfield, I did you a favor.
I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna go a little bit outside the box here. I think for my outfield, I'm gonna go bat heavy, and I think I'm gonna grab the Blue Jays outfield.
So no Trout pick.
Huh?
So that means no Trout.
No Trout.
I would have gone Trout, Ohtani, Upton.
Yeah, that's decent pick. I just think Gurriel, Springer, Teoscar Hernandez. I'm getting a lot of production.
I'm gonna take this as a blocking pick also. If I'm getting LeMahieu, Voit, and Glaber and Urshela, and I get to prevent you from taking the Yankees bullpen, seems like two birds, one stone there.
I will go with so I need a relief pitcher and a manager, and you just took the Yankees pen. I'm going to go with the Rays bullpen. It seems to just be so dominant every year. Should be no different this year.
So now I just need a manager. The manager's tough. There are a lot of options. I guess I kind of like Schilt. Doesn't have any playing experience, so that's cool. Schilt is where I'm leaning with manager pick. I'm going to take Schilt as my manager.
I am going to go with a guy who I think just gets the most out of his players. I'm going to go – wait, what do you need still?
I think that's it.
I'm going to go with Dusty. Guy has never won the big one, but he wins everywhere he goes.
Not a bad pick. Not a bad pick. At first, I thought you had this do that draft where you have to just take one player at every position and you can't double up on teams.
No, I thought this was a good, outside the box one.
I was ready for it.
All right. So to tell you, I guess we could go through what each of our teams looks like. Catchers included in infield. So I got Austin.
Oh, shit. Catchers included in infield?
So I forgot to say that, yes. So I got Austin, Nola, Machado, Tatis, Kim at second, and Hosmer. Outfield, I have Springer, Teoscar Hernandez, and Gurriel. I got Buehler, Kershaw, Bauer, Urias, Price in the rotation. The Rays have too many relievers to name, and Dusty is the skipper of my team.
I got an infield of Gary Sanchez, Gio Urshela, Gleyber Torres, DJ LeMahieu, and reigning home run champ Luke Voit. On the mound, I got DeGrom, Thor, Stroman. Who else do I have?
Carrasco
now. I got to go to
and Taiwan.
And Walker. Yeah, I got a really good rotation there. In the outfield, I got, I guess, Ozuna, Inciarte, and Acuna.
Or Christian Pash. Either way, same type of player.
Either way, doesn't make much difference to me. Mike Schultz managing it. And in the bullpen, we got Hader and Devin Williams and the rest of the Brewers bunch.
All in all, this would I think one of us needs to buy the show so that we can simulate this game because I think it would be a very strong one.
Who's your pick? So we'd have the King against DeGrom.
I would have to break down your lineup to see if it's more right or left-handed heavy, but yeah, in principle, I would say we're going the King versus DeGrom.
Nice. DeGrom's good.
With a lot of star power throughout the game.
That's the important piece.
That is indeed the important piece. We want to put asses in seats with our all-star game of sorts. With that said, that is all I got for this week. Any concluding thoughts, as always?
Chase, you're a good vaccine advocate. Get your flu shots, even though winter's coming to an end. You never know when the flu is going to strike.
Mine is going to be beautiful weather. Grab your gloves, grab your bats, maybe even grab your cleats, depending on when you're playing. Get outdoors. Let's play some softball. It's that time of the year. It's spring training for everybody.
Yes, sir.
And with that said, with Bryce Holden, my name is Chase Medorsky. This is the Underdog Sports Baseball Show. Have a great week.